What's going on there, guys? We back with another one, and today we got to talk about Paul George addressing Stephen A. Smith and that little moment they had live during the NBA Finals where Paul George was doing some commentary, and something came up about Kawhi missing games again. Now, Stephen A. has said a lot about Kawhi that's gotten him into situations with JJ Redick on numerous occasions, and we'll look back at that. But Paul George, he talked about how uncomfortable that moment was. Obviously, he's cool with Stephen A. Stephen A. has been on his podcast, and I've seen like Stephen A. and Shaq, they both like, this isn't the same situation, but it's in the same vein where it's like, I gotta prove that I said it in his face. So one, Shaq said, to Jokic, like, I felt like Shea Gilgeous should have won MVP during his moment, just to say I said it in his face. Some people be chasing that, like, you want to be real, but you don't want to go out your way to step on somebody's moment. And Stephen A. kind of did the same thing with this, saying, I said this in Paul George's face that, Kawhi isn't out there playing. And it's almost like, just to brag to say you did it. Like, it's ignorant in a way to do that to someone who has a relationship with a person. And Paul George and Kawhi, you looking at where Paul George may go in this offseason, all that, you say something like that. That's why Paul George is like, man, stop. But he's been very critical of Kawhi Leonard. We're going to look back at that, and then we're going to look at the interaction live on television between Paul George and Stephen A. Smith, and then what Paul George said on his podcast. Let's peep it.
Which y'all go
You
through.
try to play through injuries. Like, that's the goal. If you can play through it, you're going to play through it. If you can't, there's a reason why. Like nobody wants to sit out for no reason. Like, you can't play through that shit because you won't be yourself. Like, and what's the point of going out there and be like giving? I heard Stephen A. talk about he could have, like, Kawhi could have gave you 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Bro, it's not about that. Like, if I gotta go on the floor and I can't be myself, then like, what the fuck am I on the floor for? I'm liable to get even more hurt because I'm not myself, so I'm overcompensating, trying to do shit that I know I can't do. Like, it was a dumb take.
Have Stephen.
I mean this in the nicest way possible to both of you, but listening to each of you right now, it's very obvious that you've played zero high-level basketball, and you do not understand the requirements of doing that. And I do mean that in a nice way. What we're talking about here and questioning his injury, and you say, I'm not questioning his injury. You just said we saw Paul George get hurt. We didn't see Kawhi get hurt. Let's give the guy some credit. He did it in game one. He went out there and battled game two. Guess what? Mm-hmm. If he could play, he would play. Mm-hmm. I want to get clarification on this worst superstar.
I don't mean this towards the both of you. This is not directed at you, Andrea, nor you, Jay. I'm just talking about basketball analysts out there who praise Kawhi Leonard so much. I'm sick of y'all. I'm really sick of y'all. This is the worst superstar. Now, the word superstar is applicable here because he is a superstar when healthy on the basketball court. This is not a conversation about his ability when healthy. He is a two-time champion, a two-time NBA Finals MVP. The brother is a big-time basketball player. Jay, this is not a discussion about his skills and how elite he is. This is the worst superstar. I can make a case this is the worst superstar in the history of sports.
To his stuff.
Nobody on the planet knows what it's like to play without a starter at Paul George. I'll leave it at that.
Don't do that.
Nobody knows.
Don't do that.
This is what he does.
Don't do that.
This is what nobody knows.
You know what? Much more of this coming up on NBA Countdown. Kevin Nagandi, we need a break. Please take it away.
We will save.
Hey, don't do that.
I didn't like that moment just because of like he's like, and I rock with Stephen A. obviously, but just like let it go. You know what I mean? Just let it go.
Let some shit go.
And it's not that he like Kawhi wants to play. Like I will keep beating that over the head until I'm like, out of breath. He wants to play. Like he keeps like making it something that Kawhi doesn't want to play or he doesn't want to be there. Like it just, I think we rode a Kawhi a lot this year to where it kind of got to the point of like, hey, like there's only so much my body can take right now. Like we exhausted a lot out of Kawhi this season, and so I just think at some point your body breaks you down, and that's just I think the case there. But Yeah, I didn't appreciate that moment. I know I laughed because it was,
What else are you supposed to do?
just because of the situation, it was lighthearted, but deep down, it was just like, man, you gotta let that go, Stephen A.
And this is the slippery slope where you start bringing teammates in on the television and you're saying these sorts of things. How do you think Paul George is supposed to take it? That can go bad one day, depending on who the teammate is. I know you guys say certain things and how television works and clickbait and all these sorts of different variables that mean something in the television space. But at the same time, you have to take in consideration the bond that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard share, and how they decided to go play together and how they kind of rocking through this thing through thick and thin. And as we saw Joel Embiid kind of tamper with Paul George there, trying to get him out. And maybe Paul George does explore it. Paul George may share some of these same frustrations, no doubt about it, because you don't want to be out there alone in crunch time. You guys come together trying to do something for the Clippers organization that has never been done and trying to get a championship in that city, only for Kawhi not to be there for playoff games and continue to get these maximum contracts. Is something that, you looking at it, you Paul George, you like, man, deep down, it's like, I'd love to have somebody out here with me in May and, try to play into June at some point, April, May, June, and it never happens. But you can't have someone on the television making fun or making light of that, especially when Stephen A. has said he needs to consider retirement. He needs to, they just need to buy him out or they need to move on. Now, I could kind of agree that the Clippers probably shouldn't have gave Kawhi this new max contract he got, because he done showed you in the playoffs, you done tricked off Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and these are the players you have, and now you kind of got to be looking at it. Sometimes, patience is key. Actually, the Charlotte Hornets should have had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander traded for Miles Bridges, and y'all had that gift wrapped to you. You got to sometimes just let the player mature where he's at. You can't be so star thirsty when guys show you potential that you give up on them. Now, I do get Kawhi was coming off of that title in Toronto and it looked enticing, but also you had to take in consideration the team was kind of built and he was low managed. He was the star to get them over the hump, but they were perfectly built with Siakam and those guys for him to be load managed properly. But expecting him to come in and be that guy, turn the culture around for you, you were asking him to do that. Now, that's a totally different task and responsibility when you gut your roster. You could have, matter of fact, if he didn't come with so many demands for an injured player, you could have kept Shai and had him playing with Shai Gilgeous, and now you'd been built to still try to do something really special. But as far as the way Stephen A. is talking to Paul George about him, you can have these conversations with different people, but you can't have it with such a close teammate, because whose side is he going to be on? What do you expect him to say? He's going to ride with his teammate through thick and thin, and it seemed like they genuinely cool with each other, despite what he may decide to do in this offseason. So, yeah, man, I just wanted to share that, and I want to know your thoughts about it in the comment section. Let me know. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.